This year it's been a real pleasure to be able to pilot Moodle with our ICT specialist students. So here in the School of Education we've got a number of undergraduates who are trained to be primary school teachers. They all choose a specialist subject. We have about 20 or so per year who pick ICT as their subject specialism. For these students we've been using Moodle as the online support materials and really extending, enhancing students' learning through the online materials which we're providing through Moodle. The main way we've been using Moodle this year is as a repository for resources that support our students' learning across the modules that we've been piloting it with. So I'm including there links to lots of external resources. They can be academic articles, they can be the library catalogue entries, they can be papers that I've written myself or that we've sourced from elsewhere, as well as video case studies of how ICT is used in a number of primary schools across the country. The ability to include video has been a real advantage of Moodle. It's been lovely to be able to do that and to link to those videos from inside the learning platform. Of course we're uploading the PowerPoint files that we use inside lectures, together with other supplementary material that we've done during lecture time. More interesting than that is the ability to include lots of interactive activities inside Moodle courses. So typically within each lecture, yes, there'll be those preliminary readings, there'll be the material that we use in lecture. I've tried to include, where possible, lots of extra resources for students to explore independently if they're particularly interested in an aspect of the course. But on top of that, there are interactive activities. So we've used Moodle's forums a great deal in the courses that we've been running. So for instance, in our second year module on an introduction to web-based learning, we've used Moodle's forums as an ongoing blog, for want of a better expression, running throughout the course, where our students document their learning lecture by lecture, reflecting on input from me, reflecting on some of the readings, and also talking about their own ongoing development work in the projects that they're doing as part of that course. Moodle has a great wiki tool built into it as well, so we've used that with the first years as a sort of writing frame, as a way of scaffolding their response to planning activities or evaluation work. With our second year students for whom there's a large group work component in the course, we're using the wiki in a collaborative mode. So each of the students is able to access that from home, add their own ideas into their shared group planning wiki or their group evaluation statements. And that's a great use of e-learning resources. That's worked very, very well. Moodle's assessment tool is brilliant too. So I've had my students uploading sort of preliminary work for advisory marking, me supplying some feedback to them online, typing it into Moodle's form, and of course that feedback's then immediately delivered to them via the learning platform. From my point of view as a lecturer, knowing what my students have thought about the preliminary readings or the discussions that they've had online about some of the issues or the ideas that we've talked about in the course before I go into the next lecture has been tremendously useful. Being able to take those discussions that have happened online and continue them offline when we're there together in the computer room. This year, obviously with Moodle being a pilot project, I've been really eager to get as much feedback as possible from the students as to how they feel things are going with Moodle as the online support for what we're teaching, and their ideas for how we can improve on things. Generally, their reaction has been very, very positive indeed. Of course, the access to the usual sort of lecture notes and external links is fine. Moodle does that very smoothly. The ability to provide that narrative to the course, I think, has been appreciated by my students. But they've really appreciated the ability to do the interactive activities with one another as well. This sense of being on their own studying is something which Moodle largely does away with, because when they post something into a Moodle forum discussion or add something into one of Moodle's wiki activities, there is that real sense that there are others who are going to be reading their work. They're no longer just writing their reflections, their assignments for my benefit, but there's this sense in which what they write has that much wider audience of the other students doing the course alongside them. And the feedback that they've got from one another, I think, has been a really positive aspect of this, and it's lovely to see that sort of social construction of meaning taking place in the online environment, just as we hope it does in the offline world too.